Welcome to From the Ground Up, a podcast about small business funding, entrepreneurship, and current events that influence them. Powered by Tenet Financial Group.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of From the Ground Up podcast. I'm Sam Phelps from Tenet Financial Group. Today we have a guest as someone many of you will know and recognize as a leader in connecting people and building successful partnerships in the franchise industry. He is the CEO and founder of the Franchise Assembly and the director of the National Franchise Show, a position he has held for nearly a decade. Known as Sales King on TikTok, he is an industry influencer and an expert in the franchise lead generation with over 20 years of sales experience. Through the Franchise Assembly, he provides continued education, business development support to franchise brands. He has successfully produced hundreds of franchise expos across North America, generating hundreds of thousands of leads and connecting franchise brands with prospective business buyers. And without further ado, please join me in welcoming Michael Hyam. Michael, how are you?
Hey Sam, good. That was a mouthful. I am
Hey,
great. Thank you
you're a
so
very
much.
distinguished guy. We wanted to make sure we got it all in.
Thanks for having me on, Sam. I'm so happy to be here.
Hey, we're happy
Um,
to have you. Well, just kind of to start things off, we're a podcast about all things small business, franchising. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get into franchising? We'd love to hear your story.
oh, yeah, that's an interesting one for sure, to say the least. You know, for me, I kind of fell into franchising. And what I mean by that, my background is, and I think we've chatted about this a bit in the past, computer science and computer networking and system
Sure.
analysis. And that's one thing, and a good tip for sure for anyone younger who's listening and maybe getting into work and school and education. One of the things I wish I listened to a little bit more was maybe some of the guidance getting out of high school and going into university, because or maybe I've thought of it myself, because when they guide you, they were telling us what was the latest and greatest thing. And at the time,
Sure.
I don't want to give away how old I am, but it was all about computers, and that was the newest thing coming up on the horizon. And what they left out, though, was that you should also really integrate, what you're going to do with you yourself and your personality, and how does that work together. And so although the education standpoint was great, me sitting behind a computer all day long, writing code and programming, or working on networking, it wasn't for me. And so that's what I mean by I kind of stumbled into franchising, because yeah, my background is that my educational background anyways was in computers. And so, but yeah, after that, and going through a couple of things, I landed it at the Business Exchange, which is another familiar
Sure.
company to a lot of franchisors out there. They are a lead generator of sorts through their magazines and online, and now I'm sure they've progressed a lot more with different marketing initiatives as well to generate leads. And yeah, from there I came over to the franchise show, which is almost 9, 10 years now. It's been a great ride for sure, and that's mostly how I stumbled into franchising.
Sure. And we definitely, Tenet being at the franchise show, gosh, that has grown over the last couple of years just immensely. And kudos to you. Because I know every one time we come back from a show, it's just like it seems to have been better than it was last year. More folks, more franchisors. But kind of what's interesting about your role is you get to see all sides. I mean, you interact with us on the supplier side, but you're also managing the franchisors, and of course, the folks walking the show, and in your other roles. Tell us a little bit about advice you would offer from your perspective, and let's start with the franchisor side. If you got somebody that wants to be successful in this industry, what advice would you have for them?
Yes, no, for sure. So I guess from a franchisor standpoint, if we're talking a bit about shows or in general, but from a lead generation, I always like to tell everyone, because every franchise is different and they might get leads. If you're in food, or if you're a restaurant, or if you're early education, leads will come from many, many different places. And of course, I'm going to be a little bit biased by saying that
Sure.
the franchise show will deliver. And it will, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but it'll deliver on the highest quality lead, absolutely. But in general, you should really, like anything, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? You can definitely get great leads from online. You could get great leads from trade shows. You could get leads from brokers. You can get leads, from portals. And really, you want to find out what works for you. And just to downplay trade shows for a second. For example, trade shows are not for everybody. You're only going
Sure.
to have a great event and come away with a lot of leads if you work the show properly. If you don't, and you're sitting down and you're doing nothing, you're going to come away and say, "Hey, well, Mike robbed me of my money, and and this was useless." But really, like anything, that you can find, and depending what kind of a brand you are, what synergy you will have. And so I my advice to anyone really is to have a mixed bag of tricks and from a lead generation standpoint.
Yeah, that makes sense. We kind of have a saying around here, when we dedicate our time, we really make that investment and go all in. That's kind of what I hear from you is, there's a bunch of different things out in the franchising world, but just having the ability to kind of go all in and execute properly, that's great advice. And, you know, on the other side of things, from our perspective, suppliers out there, what can they do better to, help the franchisors and franchisees in the industry?
That is a great question. And as a supplier, and I pride myself, and here at the franchise show too, we pride ourselves on trying to be the best. And what I mean by that is we're a service-based industry, and it's really not rocket science. Every supplier should be delivering on the best customer service, and being at the beck and call of your franchisor. They're not making, and especially me. So for all of my direct customers, of course, are the VPs of development, all the guys on the Fran Dev side. And
Sure,
so a lot of it boils down to, if they're at their desks, and making phone calls, they might not be making money, right? They need to be doing things. They need to be out and about. They need to be prospecting and doing all kinds of stuff that um, you know, where they just might not be at their desk 9 to 5. So, you want to be trying to reach out to them. If you didn't catch them, try them again. Whatever it is, if you're providing a service, give them the information. If you got to give it to them 3 times, it's all good. The point is that they are so happy with your service that they're going to want it more and more and more. I can't tell you how many times, people tell us that they love us just because of the way we produce things, how we send out updates, how, on-site delivery, where we're with you there and we're holding your hand. And if you're a first timer, we're showing you what to do, and we're teaching you how to work the booth. And it's not just okay, thank you for the money and goodbye.
sure.
I think that is really the key to for any supplier to work with Azor, and for Azor to be happy with you.
Yeah, absolutely. The relationship is key. And you kind of started getting into my next question. So let's kind of look behind the curtain. Tell us a little bit about your role at the, National Event Management and the franchise show, and kind of how all these things come together to put on a good show.
Oh, yes. So, I don't know how many people know this, because we're, of course, hyper focused on the franchise show, and I mean, that's what we do. But the national event itself has many events. We, as an organization in Canada, we put on, an outdoor adventure show. We have a women's show. We have a food and drink show, a car show. So we're if I can say that, kind of event experts. And so,
Sure.
from a franchise, from the national franchise show standpoint, we actually produce 25 events. So not just the 13 events in the U.S., but north of the border, we have another 12 shows all across Canada. And as
That's
far as,
amazing.
yeah, no, it's really good. A lot of fun, a lot of work. And as putting on an event, there is a ton of work that goes into it. And I being the guy that's on site a lot, I take most of the glory, but there's a full team behind us that does all kinds of things from our operations and our marketing and everything. We're just running the office, our IT and everything else. But me myself, I kind of start from the bottom and go all the way till on site. So um, my team specifically is doing a lot of the sales of the trade show booths and then of course putting together everything that goes into working with the facilities and working with the show decorator and really putting the event together to the on-site delivery where we're there and all those other factors that we've talked about. Where our marketing team will come in and the attendees will come in, but that we then
Sure.
deliver it on site where the customers come in and we're showing them where to go, what to do, get their badges and all that stuff that we do on site. And I'm going to talk about the minutia, but yeah, then getting then hopefully delivering a great show where qualified prospective buyers are going to come into. So we're kind of there from start to end.
No, and we appreciate it. I will say, as an attendee with Tenet, it's each show's different, but the things that come up, they get handled. You got your team's always on top of it, and truthfully, it goes off so smoothly. It's amazing. So kudos to you and your team. But you kind of touched on it for my next question. Gosh, I'm a first time attendee. I know I want to buy a franchise and I step in. It can be a little overwhelming to just see the amount of vendors and franchisors that are there. What's your advice for somebody that's looking to get into the franchise world?
Yeah, so I would say that you want to keep an open mind, right? The reason you're coming to a franchise show is hopefully you recognize that you want to be your own boss, you want to get into business for yourself, but now you want to see 100 opportunities all under one roof. So
Sure,
really, you want to keep in mind and the goal, I would think, as an attendee, and if I was attending, would be to speak to every single vendor that is there, right? This way you can make an informed decision. You can, understand the different concepts that are out there, and you can really, formulate in your mind what is good for you. Because if you're going to now get into business for yourself, you're looking at the long run, right? I mean, it's like a marriage. Like this is going to most likely be for the next couple of decades. I mean marriage is forever, but I mean, it's for, you're gonna gotta look at it for the next 10 years, right? So
sure.
you don't want to make your decision lightly. And by going and talking to every single vendor, you can see where you can see yourself in, maybe if and every opportunity is different too, right? Some are owner operators, some are you're just being the management. And so in talking to everyone, you can see all the different viable opportunities that out there. And maybe you didn't think of something that was there, right? Maybe you thought of, oh, I didn't know I could open an early childhood education franchise. And I love children and I love working with children and I could see myself being an owner operator here. If you didn't think about that along with the other 100 different opportunities, you're really at a loss. And so I would say go in, talk to each vendor, and then ask all those hard questions that are really, really important to get the information that you need.
No, that's perfect. Well, let's flip it on there, because one of the things I think is unique to the franchise show you touched on, there's a different flavor of ice cream for anybody, right? With the different franchisors. if I'm a franchisor and I'm a first timer, what's the key? You talked about being successful at the show. What are those key traits or things you see that make someone successful in their recruitment process at your show?
That is a great question. So, and this one I've said it 100 times. Um, those that want to succeed, it is so easy. You just have to work the show properly, right? First thing you want to do, and let's say we're talking about a 10 by 10 booth. You want to stand up, right? You want to be approachable. You want to smile, and then talk to everyone that is coming to your booth, right? Because never judge a book by its cover, no matter what, right?
Sure.
Try to talk to everyone that's coming by. Some might be suited for you, some might not. But at any given trade show, we're going to have between 1,000 to 2,000 people, and that's a lot of people. So, get ready for a long, hard weekend. And as long as you're approachable and talking to everybody and putting your best foot forward, then you will succeed, because we're going to deliver the people with money who are actively seeking to be their own boss. You just have to capitalize on that. And so, as you're grabbing all that information and you're having those great conversations, right? You want to collect their information. So that, and to me, I'm working shows. To me, it seems like that makes sense, but no, a lot of first timers don't necessarily know that they're going to think, okay, well, that guy's going to call me back. I just had a great conversation and that guy's going to call me back, and I mean, it's not unheard of. Of course, somebody could call you back, but keep in mind that just like you had that, the other 100 vendors also had that. And so, you want to collect that contact information so that you can follow up, which is a very big part of it. The true trade show professionals, and you've seen it yourself, Sam, we have some vendors that do all 13 shows because they
Hmm.
know how to work the events and they are closing deals at all the shows. And that's because they know that they need to follow up. And so,
Sure.
I mean, I've heard so many, and some guys will tell me, well, nope. I say, hey, why don't you come on out to our vendor party? He's like, nope, I'm going up to my room to make calls. I kid you not. There are some that are that aggressive, and so you really, and I don't mean aggressive in a bad way. You just want to, work the show, work it properly, be approachable, and do all of those follow-ups. And as long as you have that invested interest, then you will absolutely succeed. That's why sometimes I find that when there is, and no slight on anyone else that is an employee, because I'm an owner and an employee myself, but sometimes I find, when the owner of of an emerging brand is there, they are so passionate and they want to get those leads so bad. They are up and working the booth like nobody else.
Hmm.
So that's just, it's not rocket science. You just got to work it properly.
Yeah, stay hungry, stay, relentless in your approach to offer the service you can. And no, that's great advice. And kind of going to deviate a little bit here for you. You mentioned, the emerging brands and, your role with franchise assembly. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How you and Leanne came up with that idea of the Let's Grow and the franchise assembly? I know we thoroughly enjoyed participating in the inaugural event and just wanted to get your take on that and a little bit about that story as well.
Oh, that is great. Thank you. Yes. So, we, Leanne and I have been talking about it for a long time, from an education standpoint, where we identified a few holes in the market and we said, well, wouldn't it be nice, to have this education available? And, we both deal with a lot of emerging brands and, just some natural and basic understandings on every level. So like strategies and tactics and how to grow your business, right? What's working and what's not. But why not have a conference? And this is where Let's Grow came into play, where we thought, why not have a conference that can touch on all those different things, even legal and construction and HR and technology, artificial intelligence, all these different things that will assist with growing your brand. And so we said, hey, why don't we come up and do it? And one of the big things also was, we all know there's a lot of conferences and conventions out there, but we had also identified that we wanted the information to come from the horse's mouth. And
Sure.
so, that's where we said, hey, all of these amazing suppliers like yourself, if I tried to emulate what you said in our last podcast about financing your business, I personally would have, fallen flat. There might be some other people that could, but that's what we wanted to do, right? Why not have the experts like yourself, an expert in lead generation or online marketing or whatever, get up there and give the secrets, give the tactics, tell you what you need to do, tell you what's working and what's not. And so it was a thought and an idea. And we said, okay, we're going to jump in 2 feet first, and that's just what we did. We jumped in 2 feet first, and we put it together. And I got to tell you, it was a bit scary when when we were putting it all together. In the back of our minds, we were thinking, well, this is good, but what if it doesn't translate? And it's a first time event, and what if nobody shows up? And there's
You didn't
all
have
those
that
thoughts.
problem.
Yeah. And thank goodness we didn't. Yeah, no, and yeah, I mean, and thank you for that feedback as well. Um, so many people were so happy with the feedback, and I mean, I was flabbergasted. I thought it was great too. Of course, I'm going to be biased, but um,
Sure.
there were so many people that were so ecstatic and just saying that they've never seen anything like this before. And it was so out of left field with all the different initiatives that we had. And so we're super happy that that could be our first conference. And that's kind of led us into Let's Grow Canada. So we're going to have a conference once a year as well in Canada, because of course all the legalities and techniques and stuff are different north of the border. And of course, a lot of the brands, I'm going to say like 90% of the brands are completely different in Canada than the outside of the
Sure.
Empire brands, like, the huge McDonald's and stuff like that, which are the same across the border. But, so that they can get into play. And so that really led us into all the different thoughts. And I know, just this past week, Lindsay was at the Hello Mastermind in Texas, and so that's another thing that we do at Franchise Assembly, which is continued growth. So through peer advisory, and so anyone interested in learning more about masterminds and how that will be beneficial to come talk to me. But that's what we want to do through Franchise Assembly
Sure.
is give education and growth through individuals and for the franchise community as a whole.
No, that's perfect. And as a participant at Tenet Financial Group, we'll certainly have Michael's contact information to reach out to him. I encourage you to. The Let's Grow conference and the masterminds. The biggest thing I can say as an advocate for those is they put the right people up there with that are decision makers or have the experience. And as Michael said, you get to hear it from the horse's mouth. One of the things you will hear is there'll be varying opinions, and so as we know in this industry, there's more than one way to quote unquote skin the cat. So it gives you a bunch of different ideas that you can take back to your leadership team and choose from there. So highly recommend that you look into Franchise Assembly and the opportunities there as well. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I think it's more of a testament to you, Michael, and just it's been great to get to know you as well as see you be successful on your entrepreneurial journey. I mean, one of the things here at Tenet we like to see is folks be successful in their business, and kudos to you and Leanne and your start. But one final question before we get your contact information. We're not going to mention ages. We talked about that, and I think that's where we're getting there to where we have enough war stories, and I know we talk about these, but if you could rewind the clock and tell your younger self something that you've learned through your journey, what would that be?
That is a great question. There's probably a lot of things I should tell the younger self.
It's the truth.
But I'm going to go with the one that is probably the most cliche, and it so stands true for myself and probably a lot of people out there. When you're as passionate as I am, because I live and breathe what I do, and I love franchising and our community. The way the community came together and supported us, and the way you guys supported us in franchise assembly, and the way the community supports the franchise show. I'm engulfed in it, and it's kind of a part of my life and family. And so the one thing for me is to remember, and not remember, but to enjoy and smell the roses,
Sure.
like, because I'm also on the road so much, and I'm traveling, and doing events, and having multiple hats on my head. I would just say that um, you know always kiss your kids goodnight. um, you know uh, I wake up in the morning hugging my children, and I go to bed when they go to bed, hugging my children. And so I constantly remind myself to smell the roses all the time. Be with your family, enjoy all the times that happen while enjoying your secondary family of franchising
Sure.
as well. So I think that that's really, and not just something I tell my younger self. I tell myself that now too. Plan those vacations, enjoy them, go on them. Don't ever miss out on a school play. Because we get so wrapped up. I mean, I sometimes have times where my day starts at 7 and doesn't end till 8 at night.
Mhm.
Even later, and so it's just always be on top of that, and just remember to take everything in moderation.
No, that's great advice, and we have the same mentality around here at Tenant. Finding that balance. We all work hard, but we understand that there's other things that are important in life, and great advice to anyone that's in the industry, and realizing there'll always be these things that are here to work on the next day, and work hard, but remember those and things that are important to you. So, no, Michael, appreciate you being on the show today. Now, if folks want to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
Yeah, no, they can reach me. It's very easy. Michael, Michael at nationalevent.com. I have 20 email addresses, so I'll just give you that one. But yeah, anyone can reach me via email anytime. You can call me as well. You can go on our websites, which is franchiseshowinfo.com and franchiseassembly.com. Those are probably the best and two easiest things to remember. Just go on any of our websites and you'll get all the information for the franchise show, for the Let's Grow conferences, and for our masterminds as well. I think I touched. Sorry, before you go, Sam. Yes, we just had the executive marketers one, and we're so happy that last month we just kicked off the executive friend dev group as well. And so we do still have a couple of spots remaining for anyone in franchise development that wants to continuously grow, educate themselves. I
Perfect.
just highly recommend the mastermind group. So check that out at franchiseassembly.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And then blow Michael's email up. I know he'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
And whatever podcast that we're putting this out to where you listen to your podcast on your favorite podcast network, we'll put Michael's contact information there. But Michael, it is always a pleasure to speak with you. I know. For me personally, I appreciate you always being there when I've had questions. Like you, I kind of tripped and stumbled into franchising, and it's a fun industry. The pace never stops, but I appreciate your friendship and also your advice. I look up to you very much and what you've done and built there, and just so excited to see the future with not only the franchise show but franchise assembly and where that's going, and we're so grateful to have you on the show today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Sam. And hey, Tenant Financial, my absolute favorites. Love you guys. You and the whole team. You guys are phenomenal, from top to bottom. Great organization, and I appreciate you having me here on the podcast.
All right. Well, this is the ground up, and thank you for listening.